Hello and welcome to TaskHuman Talks. I am your host and fellow TaskHuman provider, Jamie Carroll. And today we've got one of our amazing wellness professionals, Ryan Furman. Now, Ryan,
Hi.
you are a certified plant-based nutritionist, a fitness trainer, and you have your own podcast called Mainly Plants.
Yes, the Mainly Plants podcast.
Did I miss anything there?
No, I think you covered it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome. I'm so excited to jam with you today.
Likewise, yeah.
Awesome. So what I really want to dive into is your plant-based nutrition. Now, you are a vegan.
Yes.
Tell us about your journey to veganism. Is that a word, veganism?
Yeah. And if it's not, then you just made it
now,
up.
yeah.
Then, yeah, you can trademark it.
Exactly.
So I went vegan 9 years ago.
Okay.
9 years ago? Yeah, 9 years ago this upcoming November. It was right after Thanksgiving. Okay. And I had thought that I was eating correctly. I was 27. I was eating, a nice big piece of, animal meat or, a ham and cheese sandwich and a few vegetables on the side. But at the same time, I had high cholesterol and chronic fatigue to the point where I had to take a nap every single day, or else I just couldn't function. And I'm thinking to myself, like, I'm 27, I should be in the prime of my life. I should be feeling great, and I don't. So a couple friends of mine who coincidentally are married now showed me Forks Over Knives
yes.
documentary. And I gave it a whirl, and I immediately felt better. So that kind of started me into the rabbit hole of eating healthier and what the truth is behind nutrition and how we were taught growing up, with the food pyramid and all that kind of stuff. It just wasn't accurate to what we needed to eat to be healthy and to feel good. So that initially is what launched me into eating plant-based. Now, not to be long-winded, but I am vegan, but I'm also plant-based. So, I started eating better for my health. And then after that, it became about, the ethics involved and all that other stuff.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was going to ask, actually. So couple clarifying questions. The first thing that came to my mind is you said you become, you're looking into plant-based after Thanksgiving. So I'm thinking you eat a ton of turkey on Thanksgiving. But let me ask you this. How were you eating before? What was, before you decided to go over this? So 10 years ago, what kind of foods were you eating?
I mean, I would wake up in the morning. I would have typically a bagel with some melted cheese on it, some mustard, and some turkey. Okay. And I thought I was eating healthy.
Right.
Lunch, usually a sandwich or some leftovers or something, whatever I would pick out through the day. And then dinner was typically like either a big pork tenderloin or a steak or, some chicken breasts, and then just a little side, maybe the size of $2 silver of steamed veggies or grilled veggies or whatever it was. And I work out. I work out every day. I have been working out every day since I was, 19, 20.
Okay.
So I was under the misconception that I needed that animal product to build muscle and be healthy.
That's actually one of the things I wanted to talk to you about, because most people listening to this will be like, well, I lift heavy weights. I need to eat protein. Like, that's how I'm going to get my muscle repair, my muscle recovery.
Sure.
Is that not true?
It's not true in a sense that you have to eat animal products to build muscle. You can get all the amino acids necessary to build muscle, all the proteins, through a plant-based diet, through a whole food plant-based diet, without eating any animal products. If you think about it, I like to talk about this with people just to kind of, get their brains working. If you think about all of the world's largest land animals, elephants, gorillas, rhinoceros, hippopotami, they are all very muscular, very, built, quote unquote, animals. They don't eat any meat.
Very true. Very true.
So it can be done. And it's easier to be done than thought.
Yes. Now, can you tell us a little bit about like what plant foods are providing those amino acids that we need?
So every plant has some amount of amino acid, even if it's trace amounts. Okay. But if you get into things like, legumes, beans, nuts, seeds, I'm a big proponent of tofu. I know there's a lot of controversy around soy. Tofu is complete.
Okay.
So as long as you're eating a varied diet, you're not just eating just cucumbers and tomatoes. You're not eating just, this or that, but you're eating an all-encompassing diet. You will get all those gaps filled of those different aminos from different plant-based foods.
Okay, awesome. And so you told us about what your diet looked like before you started on this journey. What does your typical diet look like now in a day?
So I do intermittent fasting. So I fast from usually 7 or 8 at night until 11 or 12 the next day before I eat anything. So, and I'll drink coffee or have water, but no substantial calories.
Okay.
When I break that, usually it's a salad, a big salad. And I always stress either 1 large salad a day or 2 medium-sized salads or 3 small ones.
Okay.
But I have a big salad with 2 types of dark leafy greens, at least 6 to 8 other vegetables. And tofu counts in there as one of the 6 to 8, and it's so easy to hit that. It's so easy to hit that many vegetables. So I'll have that. That'll sustain me. Maybe a snack in the afternoon, some hummus and veggies, something like that.
Okay.
And then for dinner, typically either a medium-sized salad or a small-sized salad to start.
Okay.
And then whatever, I eat, there's so much stuff I can eat as a vegan, as being plant-based.
Right.
Whether it's vegan meatloaf or taco bowls or tacos, you can always create something that is either 100% whole food plant-based compliant or really close to it. And being that I do that intermittent fasting, I have a little more leeway with what I'm able to eat in that 8-hour block.
Okay, awesome. So you talk about vegan plant-based. Essentially, is that the same thing?
It depends on who you ask. And
okay.
Some people get angry about it. I'm not one of those people.
Okay. So tell me more about that. Cause even I'm like, wait, aren't they the same?
Right. So if you ask somebody who's, one of these militant vegans,
right.
They'll tell you that if you're vegan for the animals. Okay. You're vegan for animal welfare,
right?
Which I am now. That's not why I went. I went because of my own personal health.
Okay.
So I say that I went plant-based. When I tell people what I am, I usually say that I'm plant-based or whole food plant-based.
Okay.
I also think that vegan is kind of a 4-letter word. It has this bad connotation. Yeah. People think that if I say that I'm vegan, that I'm going to jump down their throat.
Right.
But it's like, listen, I've been in your shoes before. Yeah. 99.9% of people who are vegan were not vegan at some point. So I remember what it's like to be there, and people don't know what they don't know. So I think that coming from a place of compassion and understanding, to talk to people is more beneficial than screaming at them, you're eating my friends. It doesn't help anything. It doesn't help the cause.
Right. Yeah. That never solves anything in any situation.
Right. 100%. Especially when people don't know any better,
Right. Exactly.
I was taught the wrong thing for so long.
Yeah.
And nobody was going to tell me differently. I just had to kind of figure it out on my own.
What do you think was your biggest aha about food, about the nutrition, when you were like, well, I thought I knew all of this, and now I realized? It
was the protein myth was the biggest for me, because I had spent so much time in gyms that I always heard you need at least 1 to 2 grams of protein for every pound that you weigh if you want to build muscle. And it's just not accurate. It's false. It's wrong. In fact, you're doing more harm to your body than good by overloading your kidneys with, this animal protein that it has a hard time processing.
Right. And you strength train.
I do.
In the gym.
Yes.
Yeah. And so do you do anything specific around like when you're strength training? Is there are you having a protein powder? Do you need to do anything extra those days?
So, things have changed since COVID, but prior to COVID, when I was going to the gym every day, I think gyms just opened up like the last couple of days here in Arizona. Okay. I still haven't gone yet, but thank God I have a Peloton at home.
Yeah.
But before that, I would typically go to the gym right before I braked my intermittent fast. So I would be doing all my weightlifting empty stomach.
Right.
Maybe a little pre-workout, but I would come home and I would have that salad. That gives me all the protein I need to recover from that workout. I haven't used protein powders in years.
Wow. So So just from like the vegetables, you're getting that protein that you need from your workout.
Right. Vegetables, beans, nuts, seeds,
Amazing.
everything. Yeah. Legumes.
I love this. And you're feeling
peanuts.
good. You're feeling satisfied after a hard workout.
Yeah. You feel set. Not only do you feel satisfied after a workout and then a meal like that, you don't feel like garbage where you just want to go to sleep.
Yes.
You actually have energy. You have that mental clarity to carry on with the rest of your day.
And we all just want to feel better, right?
Yeah, especially
ultimately,
now.
Yeah. Actually, speaking of COVID, you had done a podcast on your Mainly Plants podcast about depression. And
recently, you've been doing your homework.
Yeah, I did. That was the only one I watched. Truth be told, I have a passion for mental health myself, so I wanted to listen to that one. And you talk a lot about how, being plant-based or being vegan really helps with mental health, with depression. Can you touch on that just a little bit? I think, right now, so many people are feeling this. We're alone. We feel like we can't talk to anybody. We're struggling with depression, anxiety, all the things.
I mean, without getting into the weeds of like the technicalities of the different enzymes and stuff, there are studies that show that eating a whole food plant-based diet doesn't inhibit your body's access to serotonin levels.
Okay.
It doesn't create more dopamine levels. So when you're eating animal products, you are turning on receptors and anti-inhibitors that do those things. So by eating whole food plant-based, you're actually alleviating those things and letting your brain be happier, in short. Beyond that, in that same podcast, beyond that, I do advocate just for, beyond just the diet, it's so important just to talk with people and check in. Because health is more than, I obviously I'm big into diet,
right?
But I'm also big into talking to people, checking in with your friends. I check in with my friends every week.
Yeah.
We have a group chat on Instagram. I say, how's everybody doing? Everybody checks in, especially more so now,
Right.
I do 10-minute guided meditation at night in bed just to kind of de-stress.
Yep.
Even gut health can play a factor in your happiness.
Absolutely. I think it's like 90% of our serotonin or something is found in the gut. So, it makes sense with what you're eating is going to play an important part in that.
100%.
But health, it's all connected, mind, body, mental health, all the things. So you could be eating super healthy leafy greens, but be mean to people or be abusing people, and that's not healthy, and then vice versa too.
Yeah. And gut health, gut health is so important. And it's something that it's one of my biggest passions in the health and nutrition field, just because I think it's underappreciated. So many people don't understand that, the vast majority, between 80 and 90% of your overall immune system derived from your gut health.
Right.
So, we're talking about COVID.
Yeah.
If in the fact that you can help fight off some of those viruses, you need to have healthy gut biome in order to do that.
Right. Absolutely.
Let alone just the cold and flu and everything else that we're always bombarded with.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you talk about, in the beginning, you mentioned you had high cholesterol from, 10 years ago with the things you were eating. What changed for you? Your cholesterol went down. Did you see any other like blood markers that went down? Anything else?
Body inflammation went down.
Okay.
Which is, it's a product of eating animal products is you're going to have body inflammation go up. Blood pressure went down.
Awesome.
Just overall feeling better. Because you can look at blood results all day and it's just a bunch of gibberish numbers. But if your blood results are looking good, because I know people who are obese, but still somehow genetically or otherwise have decent blood markers. But if you can wake up in the morning and you're not feeling like garbage, if you have sustained energy throughout the day, if you have that mental clarity, that's, let alone, clearer sinuses.
Yeah.
You're going to appreciate that diet change more if you physically and mentally feel better. I think that's the biggest thing that I noticed is I didn't have that chronic fatigue anymore. I'll take a nap once in a while, but it was every day for years.
After a meal, probably, where you were crashing and wanting to take a nap.
After a meal, even just like 2, 3 in the afternoon, I'm like, I just got to lay down for half an hour.
Yeah. So do you, are a lot of your friends people that you surround yourself with, are they plant-based and vegan or no?
Most of them are
Okay.
not.
Okay.
You know, I come from a Jewish family with Eastern European background, so heavy meat, a lot of weird meat, like stomach lining and, you know, gross stuff like that. That's in, you know, that's in my family. So when I first went, my parents and my brother didn't understand it.
Right.
Thought I was crazy. Fast forward, my brother's now vegan for the past couple months. Whole food plant-based, I should say.
So did you inspire him to?
I did. And I mean, for years, I would just throw him, you know, watch this documentary, listen to this podcast. And it finally clicked. And same with my parents. My parents are, you know, 90% plant-based now.
That's awesome.
Most of my friends are not, but they have started eating healthier because I constantly talk to them about it.
Right. Absolutely. You're planting the seeds.
Exactly.
As I like to say.
Exactly. You can't push people, but they have to choose to make that change.
Absolutely. So something that's coming to my mind too is like, I can hear people right now thinking like, oh, that's so boring though. I mean, I'm going to have a salad every day for lunch, or like, you know, what do you eat when you go out? Are there amazing restaurants around that are vegan? You know, like, what are you having?
Yeah. So, I mean, when I went vegan, you know, plant-based 9 years ago, the only alternative meats or cheeses or whatever, I had tofu.
Okay.
And then there was one brand of plant-based bologna which tasted like garbage.
I can only imagine.
now there is there are so many things now that I have not tried them all, just because there's alternatives for everything. There's unbelievable you know, dairy-free ice cream, plant-based ice cream.
Okay.
There's you know, beyond and impossible burgers and sausages.
Yep.
There's fake chicken or faux chicken.
But do you like the faux chicken?
I mean, it depends on how it's prepared, right?
Yeah.
I mean, there's a place, I'll give a plug to this place in Scottsdale, South Scottsdale, where I am.
Okay.
They're called Green. Okay. And they do like vegan junk food. So they have this thing called a Big Whack, and it's basically a Big Mac, but it's called plant-based and tastes exactly like a Big Mac. I've taken non-vegan friends then, like people who aren't vegan will go there just to get that.
Yes, that's making me think of an amazing place in Nashville, Tennessee, actually, where I am. It's called the Sunflower Cafe, and it's the same thing. Like, I don't know what's in this food or what it is, but I'm like, this is the best food I've ever had.
Yeah.
So I took my 9-year-old niece there, and she tried some things. She kind of went crazy with it. We just got a bunch of different things, and she loved every single thing. I was actually surprised. I was like, really? She's like, this is the best, like, broccoli cheddar soup she'd ever had, and it, you know, all vegan.
Yeah, and I get it all the time. People are like, well, you just eat a salad? It's like, no, I'll eat cheeseburgers. I have bacon cheeseburgers. I have, you know, loaded nachos, peach cobbler, like anything that anybody has eaten in the history of man, there's been a vegan version of that tastes good.
Of course. Yeah.
Mac and cheese. Whole Foods makes unbelievable vegan pizza. I mean, and not only that, like, you know, I talked about extensively, if you go to a restaurant, and most restaurants are kind of coming around to the fact that they need to have good vegan options because it's the trend now.
Right.
If they don't, I've found more often than not, if you ask the server to ask the chef to whip something up that's vegan, they are thrilled to do so because it gets them out of their monotony of cooking the same stuff over and over again. They are able to try something new.
Right.
I went to a steakhouse for a bachelor party. Nothing vegan on the menu. I said, do you guys have any vegan options? He said, oh yeah, we have something that's off the menu. It's vegan vegetable stack. It was unbelievable.
I'm glad you gave that example because I was going to ask when have you done that?
Yeah.
Gone and asked for something vegan. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, luckily, you know, where I am, there's a lot of vegan restaurants and vegan options.
That's great.
You know, I talk to clients who are in the South where it's not so readily available.
Right.
But I mean, if you do go out and there aren't options, there's always salad and French fries, but there's also such easy ways to make stuff at home.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Do you think that there's ever a situation or ever like a certain type of person that needs to eat meat, like any dis-ease or any, you know, anything where you'd be like, well, yeah, you probably do need to eat like a good grass-fed steak, or you're thinking basically anyone could be vegan and plant-based?
I mean, I've dealt with a lot of people with diseases and disorders. I've never come across one that has had to be a carnivore or an omnivore for that disorder.
What is it that's so not healthy about meat, do you think? Like even a good grass-fed steak, like what is it about that?
Yeah. So I mean, if you remove, any kind of antibiotics that they're injected with, if you remove any kind of hormones that they're injected with, first of all, you're still eating that animal's cholesterol, right? So your body makes all the cholesterol you need. Cholesterol is not a bad thing. Your body needs cholesterol. When you have too much, it's not a good thing.
Right.
But having another animal's cholesterol is not healthy.
Okay.
Having that other animal's hormones, whether it's injected or not, it still has hormones.
Right.
So
Yeah.
you're consuming that animal's hormones, the protein synthesis. It can mutate your own genes, that animal's protein. So there's no, it almost sounds like, that magic bullet, but there's no downside. There's no harm with plant proteins, but there is with animal proteins. And I think it's just the way that our bodies were designed,
right,
quote unquote. We're not made physically to consume big amounts of animal.
Right.
Yeah, when we were cavemen or nomads, we probably consumed very small amounts of flesh and a lot of plants to share with our tribe.
Right.
We don't need to do that anymore because we have access to a lot of vegetables and plants otherwise. But, we don't have big canines. We have a very, very long digestive tract, which is very similar to herbivores. Carnivores have huge teeth, very short digestive tracts, so they can get that meat in and out. It doesn't putrefy in them like it does with us. And that's what causes these problems.
Interesting. Yeah, that's very interesting. I'm taking notes, as you can see. So obviously when you started this journey 9 years ago, you weren't just like, how hard was it for you to go from like, okay, I'm eating like every day and now I'm having a salad for lunch?
Hard.
Was it a slow process, or were you just like 100%, I am doing it the next day?
No, so I had 1 week, for the first few months, I had 1 week a cheat meal where I would go and have, bacon and eggs breakfast at the deli. But it's hard, when you're doing something for decades, your brain forms these neural pathways, and it takes, minimum 6 to 8 weeks to break those pathways and create new ones, so that you're not craving, that salted meat anymore, to where you're craving things like kale and hummus, which sounds bananas if you are not eating that already. But now I crave hummus. I made kale orzo pasta last night because I wanted kale.
It's a real thing, you guys. Especially if you're on sugar, it can take, I tell people 3 to 4 months, right? Your palate's going to change. You are going to start craving those things.
Right. Yeah. Dairy's a big one also. Dairy and it's sugar. I think it's sugar and dairy both have similar effects on the brain as opiates, as cocaine.
Yeah.
So your body does become addicted to these things, and you can go through some light withdrawals when you change your diet, especially if it's drastically. And people always ask me, is it best to kind of, wean off of it, or is it best to just go cold turkey? And I always say, whatever works for you.
Yeah.
Some people are better at just going cold turkey, just removing it and just going 100% the other direction. Some people, that's setting you up for failure. So whatever your personality type is like, that's what you should do.
I like to just rip off the Band-Aid. When I got sober, it was like the next day, I'm like, I'm quitting. It's stuck. So I think if I ever were to go completely plant-based, that might be, what would resonate with me. Let's just do it.
Yeah. And, I know people who have done it just for stints where they've gone vegan for 3 or 4 months just to see how it feels, to see how their body reacts.
Yeah.
I haven't heard any negatives about it.
Oh, that's amazing. Now I'm getting my juices flowing and I'm like, do I want to do that for 3 or 4 months and just, but like automatically and you probably get this a lot with your clients that you work with. Initially, I'm like, oh my, it's going to be so hard to just figure out. I'm going back to that food thing. Like, what am I going to eat?
And that's where those alternatives are very handy. I always, because listen, a Beyond Burger, an Impossible Burger, those aren't, necessarily healthy for you, but they are healthier, and they're good alternatives to kind of wean you off animal food. So I always tell them, listen, if that's what it takes, if vegan cheese is what it takes to get you off regular dairy,
Yeah.
do that. And then slowly remove it from there.
Okay.
You know, sometimes I recommend doing vegan 3 or 4 days a week, just initially.
Yeah.
Pepper it in.
Right.
People, for those people that I coached a firefighter a few years ago,
Okay.
and firefighters eat meat at every single meal, whether they're on duty or not.
Right.
So, you know, I told him, I said, listen, start out with 1 meal a week. That's completely whole food plant-based.
Okay.
And then increase it to 2. And then when you're comfortable with that, increase it to 4. So, you know, if it's something that's new and daunting to you, you don't have to go full bore all at once.
Yeah.
Or you can, whatever
Right.
works.
Yeah.
There's no rule book.
There is none. I have that personality where I'm like that all or nothing person, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, which I'm sure you probably meet a lot of people that are like that.
Yeah,
you know?
totally.
I'm like, oh, I don't know. It's that all or nothing, you know?
Yeah, but it can get overwhelming, you know?
Yeah. So for someone just getting started, you know, like me, I'm going to do plant-based for 3 months. So what you would recommend is like really think about what's going to work for me. Do I need to like have 1 or 2 days where I'm still eating meat?
Right.
Sprinkling in the, what did you call it? The alternatives.
Yeah.
Still doing that. Anything else? Any other tips you could give?
I mean, listen, exercise is very important also. Whether it be just to build muscle or to go, even if you're just going for a walk a half an hour a day, get your body moving. It will help in your digestion. It'll help detox and flush everything out. It's also good for your mental wellness. I mean, my gym time is like, you know, going to church or temple or whatever religion you are. But also I like to stress that whole salad thing. So salads, eat cooked stuff all day long. That's fine. But having that big salad once a day or a small salad with dinner, it really helps push everything through you. You're going to feel better for it. And it's nice having that hands-on experience with your meal, and not just throwing everything in a pot and letting it cook, but like actually sitting there, watching it, chopping it, knowing what's going into your food, every ingredient.
Yeah. I like those. Those seem like it's like easy tips to kind of wrap your head around as for someone who's completely new. And so when you work with your clients, you're working in plant-based nutrition specifically. And then in your training and in your fitness career, you're just working with athletes? Tell us a little bit about that.
So the nutrition is plant-based. However, not all my clients are plant-based. So if somebody still wants to eat animal products, that's up to them. I'm going to give them the information. I'm going to show them how to eat whole food plant-based, and they can do with that what they will.
Gotcha.
The personal training, for me, I won't do personal training unless you're also altering your diet more towards whole food plant-based. And whether that is, again, also, because 80% of your physique is going to come from your diet. So you can work out, 4 or 5 hours a day, and you're still not going to have the body you want. You're still not going to feel good. It's going to make me look bad as a trainer. So if you're not willing to change your diet, then I'm not willing to take that extra step with you. But everything from older people to college students, anybody who wants to get trained and whatever their goal is, whether it's build muscle just to look good for the beach, if their hips hurting them, if they're older, muscle or bone density is very important as you get older. So I walk people through how to, increase bone density through weight bearing exercises.
Awesome.
There's literally no one who I won't work with unless you're not willing to alter your diet.
I love that, actually. I love that you're combining both your passions, but sticking to like your truth, which is
it's important.
Eating plant-based. Or whole foods. Really, that actually brings me to something I wanted to talk about. So just because you're vegan or plant-based doesn't always mean that you're healthy. Obviously, from what I can tell that you are eating healthy foods, but I met a guy that was a vegan once and he was like spaghetti, for dinner with a canned sauce and like pineapple chunks, cereal for breakfast. And I was like, I'm like, this is not healthy at all. And unfortunately he had a YouTube channel. So he was sharing all of these things with everybody. And I just intuitively, and I'm not plant-based, but Like, right. Do you see that a lot where people are
Yeah,
like vegan? They're like, I'm plant-based. And you're like, you're not even, you don't even have one veggie still.
Right. Yeah. I mean, listen, that meal you just described is vegan and it's plant-based, but it's not whole food plant-based.
Right.
You can be plant-based and you can be vegan and have high cholesterol and feel like garbage all the time.
Yeah.
It's not synonymous with
whole
health.
food plant-based
Whole
is
food
really
plant-based.
that word, those
Right.
2 words. Yeah.
If you can't pronounce what's going into your food, and you can't look at your food and say that is a pepper, that is whatever.
Yeah.
It's probably not the healthiest thing for you. Now, that being said, I have cheat meals all the time.
What's your
everybody
last
should.
cheat meal? What was your last cheat meal?
My last cheat meal was last night. We had my girlfriend made this thing called panzanella, which I've never heard of before, and it's like chopped up tomatoes, cucumbers, and onions, which I'm nailing the whole food plant-based thing there. Like but then you have chopped up French bread with and it was vegan mozzarella as well. So it's like this soggy. It was great. Yeah. But it's not whole food plant-based.
Right.
It's plant-based, but it's not whole food plant-based.
Yeah.
So I usually try to stick to one cheat meal a week. Sometimes two, if it's been, if I'm lazy or if it's been a hard week. But I have this thing, and the people who listen to my podcast or I've coached know all about it. It's called the rule of 80s.
Okay.
So 80% of what you eat should be whole food plant-based. Okay. That leaves 20% to do whatever you want.
Love it. We need that 20%.
Exactly. Yeah. Have whatever you want. Have the rum and Coke. Have, have the Whole Foods pizza. Yeah. It's good to have everything in moderation, including moderation. Right. So, and then, the rule of 80s goes into when you're at the grocery store, 80% of your cart should be whole food stuff that you've gotten from the produce section. So vegetables, nuts, seeds, like that. The other 20%, whatever, get a bag of chips if you want to.
Okay. Yeah.
Or whatever.
Cheap.
Right. 80% of how you look and your physique is going to come from your diet.
Right.
So as long as you stick to pretty much 80% of what I do being on track, you can screw off 20% of the time. You'll still be okay. Generally speaking. Yeah.
I also I just wrote this down. You said everything in moderation, including moderation.
Right. Sometimes you got to go wild.
That's going to be the title of this. I'm going to write a blog post. Is it okay if I steal that?
Absolutely.
I'll give you credit for it.
Yeah. Yeah. You have to have that mental sanity, right? You can't be,
that's great.
Stuck in line 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, Go out and get, blitzed once in a while if you want to. Go out and eat all the doughy pizza if you want to. Like, if you want to do it occasionally, you got to have that freedom to do it occasionally.
Absolutely. I love that. That is a great rule that you have. I want to talk about one more thing before we start to wrap up, and that is supplementation. So do you work with people with supplements? Because I think you're not eating meat. Do you need an iron, a B12, zinc, things like that? Or are you still getting those from your plants?
If you are eating a varied whole food plant-based diet, and again, it can't be the same stuff every single day. You got to have a lot of different stuff. Then the only supplement you need, being 100% whole food plant-based, is a B12 supplement.
B12. Okay.
Only thing you need. You'll get your iron from dark leafy greens, beans as well. You're going to get your omegas from flax seeds and chia seeds and stuff like that. Now, I am a big fan of supplementation in terms of biohacking. Okay. So, whether it's, I have a bottle of cordyceps mushrooms right here. Okay. I love mushrooms. They're amazing to me.
So tell me more about those. So what is...
So it's this brand, Real Mushrooms. They're actually on the podcast. The founder and owner was on my podcast.
Oh, awesome.
And mushrooms, there's so many things that they can improve or alter in a positive way in your body and brain. So cordyceps, I usually take one after lunch, and it kind of just gives me like an extra boost of mental power. I don't know how to describe it. If somebody's taken cordyceps before, they know what I'm talking about, but it's kind of just like it's like an energy shot for your brain, essentially.
Right. Okay.
There's turkey tail mushroom. There's mushrooms for health and wellness in terms of your immune system. There's mushrooms obviously for getting blasted and going to a different universe. Right. There's mushrooms.
that's what I think of, but then I also think of my younger days, and I'm like, the shrooms.
Right. Right. There's
Okay.
there's mushrooms for burning fat.
Okay.
And if anybody's intrigued about that mushroom thing, I would go listen to that interview that I had, because he talks about the best ways to find quality mushrooms, whether it's his brand or anybody else's. You want a quality mushroom, but even beyond mushrooms, I don't personally dabble in the nicotine space.
Yeah.
But nicotine is coming out in studies showing to boost brain power with little to no side effects.
Wow.
So yeah, supplementation in terms of biohacking is fascinating to me.
Okay.
But these aren't things necessary to maintain health and wellness. The only thing that you need, again, is B12 if you're going to be 100% plant-based.
Got it. So you take a B12 supplement daily. You recommend that to your clients.
Yep. I also take a probiotic daily, just because I especially now with the whole COVID thing, having a supercharged immune system
can't hurt.
Can't hurt.
Yeah. You need that right now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm peeling over my notes to see if there's anything else I want to touch on. And I think we hit everything. Yeah. So before we go, I did want to ask you, and you're not prepared for this, but if you have a fun, easy recipe, what is like a fun plant-based recipe you can share with us? Oh dear.
Whole food compliant, like a healthy?
Yes. Let's make it whole food compliant.
Oh geez. Let's think here. God, you're catching me. Okay. I got a good one. Okay. And it's whole food compliant, but it's not going to seem like it. So it's the loaded French fries. Okay. So you take your potato and you cut it into, French fry sized pieces.
Okay.
And you season it, you boil it. Let me stop that, reverse it. You boil it until it's just barely pierceable by a fork. Okay. And then you season it. And then you throw it in the air fryer. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So those
air
are
fryer. Okay.
cooked. If you don't have an air fryer, you got to get an air fryer.
I know. I got to get one. My client told me that. My client told me this the other day.
My mom just called me today and said, I just got an air fryer. Sweet. So while that's cooking, you can take tofu and break it down into crumbles in like a cast iron skillet. Season it with some, liquid smokes, some salt, some pepper, garlic powder, whatever your favorite seasonings are. Awesome. And then kind of like char it so it's really good and cooked. And that's your quote unquote bacon. Chop some scallions, some tomatoes, some onions. And then, obviously take the French fries when they're done, put them on a plate, put all that stuff on top. Kite Hill sour cream is whole food plant-based compliant. Okay, all of Kite Hill's products are whole food plant-based compliant. Okay. So they have a sour cream. They also have a plain yogurt that tastes exactly like sour cream. So if you can't find the sour cream, that's a good one. Put that on top. If you want some sort of cheese alternative, there are recipes online for how to make whole food plant-based compliant nacho cheese out of its carrot and potato in like a Vitamix with a few other things like lemon juice, nutritional yeast. Yeah. And you pour that on top and you have yourself a plate of loaded French fries.
Yum. That sounds amazing.
It's so good.
I like that you can make your own vegan cheese, because I have that's always my thing. I'm like, vegan cheese. That's where I get a little bit like, I got a vegan cheese pizza one time, like vegan pizza. Right. And I'm like, I ate it, but I was like, I don't know, this isn't the same thing.
There are some great vegan cheeses out there that they're not whole food compliant, but they are really the Chow brand cheese.
Chow. Okay.
Yeah. Chow is really good. Follow Your Heart is really good. Okay. Miyokos is really good. Actually, I have, I did a few videos on YouTube of like reviewing different plant-based products like sausages and cheeses and ice creams and stuff. Okay. There is one for the cheeses on there.
Okay. I'll have to check it out.
But yeah, anybody who wants to get in contact with me, I'm more than happy to throw together a list of all these different recommended delicious products, alternatives to help the transition.
That would be me. I will be getting in touch with you. Send me all the things. That sounds amazing. Awesome. And people can also check you out. You guys can check Ryan out on his podcast called Mainly Plants Podcast. Is that right?
Yep, the Mainly Plants Podcast.
Okay, awesome. That's a good one.
Or Instagram at Mainly Plants.
Yep.
Mainlyplants.com.
Plants. Yes, wonderful. Work with him, you guys. And that's all I've got, Ryan. Do you feel complete?
I do. I feel complete. I feel good. It's been a good day.
Amazing. Yes. Thank you guys for watching this. Remember to check out TaskHuman. You can check us out at taskhuman.com. If you want to work with someone, you can work with Ryan through that app. You can work with me, or you can check out one of our many other very amazing wellness professionals. I'll see you guys next time. Bye.